sort of in my own life is that there are two me's. There is the shaman and the berserker. Or to put it more simply, I have a choice. I can be Jesus reincarnated, Jesus 2.0, or I can be Ares, the god of war and destruction. Do you sort of understand? I have a choice. I can choose to, sacrifice myself and sort of give without any want or need. One sec. Bloody wind. But I can choose in any situation to reenact the teachings of Jesus or to reenact the teachings of Ares, the god of war. Do you sort of get it? So if we understand this, it's just simply understanding that if someone does or says something to me that hurts or upsets me or lowers who I am, I have one or two choices. I can choose to accept that and say, this is how someone is treating me, okay? And I can choose to take the perspective and shift it and alchemize it to be a positive influence in my life, or I can take it and take that negative energy of that person and I can amplify it and I can create destruction, pain, everything negative in this world. I can go out, I can murder people, I can hurt people, I can cheat people. Do you sort of get it? Like, there is no right and wrong, there is only right and wrong within us. And that's very important, because while it may seem that, it's justifiable. If someone attacks me, I have the right to attack them. Do you sort of understand? So it's sort of like, if someone does something to me that I do not like, I can walk up and just start punching them in the face and beat the fucking shit out of them and fucking murder them if I want. Do you sort of get it? Or I can choose to take the higher path, where I don't let into the ego, like where I don't give in to my ego. And that's very important, because what I've come to realize is a lot of the negative aspects of life come from our ego, in terms of they come from our beliefs of what is right and wrong, our beliefs of justification, what is justifiable. And this always is something that really worried me, because my whole life I was led to believe that the ego was what we seek. That giving into the ego was how we become our best version of ourselves, because that's how most people believe it is. Do you know what I mean? If someone does something to me, I should just cut them off and just, be ruthless to them. Do you know what I mean? If someone wrongs me, they have wronged me. When in truth, if someone wrongs me, they have done nothing to me. And this is what Jesus taught us with some of his teachings, like turn the other cheek. And it's sort of like, if someone is going to do that to you, if someone's going to do something negative to you, you can focus and give it all of your attention, this negativity, or you can shift your focus and change your path and direction in life. Do you sort of understand? So if people try to lie, manipulate and cheat you, I can focus on that and focus on, seeing the lies, seeing the cheating, seeing the manipulation. Or I can choose to say, I don't like that. I'm going to look at the positive in life. I'm going to look at what is good, the truth. Do you sort of understand? And this is the important thing, that when we're trying to get to the bottom of this in terms of within ourselves, it's sort of like, how do we do that? How do we always turn the other cheek? How do we always take the higher path? My whole life I've tried to do that, and my whole life I haven't been rewarded for it. I haven't been rewarded outside of myself for being a good person. That's a funny thing. It's a funny thing in life. Typically in society, if you're a good person, people try to use and manipulate you. But does that justify not being a good person? Do you sort of get it? Like, that's the test of God, is that being a good person doesn't mean you're going to get anything in life. It just means you're going to know within yourself who you are. Do you sort of understand? So in any moment, I can go out and be an evil person, and it's not going to do anything to my external environment. It's only going to erode my internal environment. Do you sort of understand? So it's very important to understand this, because that's the truth of spirituality, is that it is the internal spirit that we are working on, not the external environment. Being a good person doesn't mean that people are going to help me. Being a good person doesn't mean that if in my hour of need, that anyone else is going to stand in for me. Being a good person means that in my hour of need, I stand for me. And if I should die, that's okay. I know where I'm going. Do you sort of get it? And that's an important thing, because in life we all seek external validation. If I am a pious or religious or righteous person, I must see that reflected in my external environment, that, you know, people will be that way to me. But the truth is that with most righteous, and when I say righteous, that just means someone who believes in standing in their values, who believes in standing in their beliefs, who believes in standing in what means something to them, okay? Their ethics. It doesn't mean that I am now void of any negativity. It means that negative people are always going to seek me out, because it's a test. And that's what life is. Life is a test. It's a test to see if we give in to the negative fear and lack, or if we choose, regardless of anything, to only ever see the abundance and the joy and the happiness. Do you sort of understand? Like, that is the test of life. To, you know, to be attacked and be able to stand there and say, you know what I mean? Like, to be attacked but yet not need to attack back. Do you sort of understand? Now, I'm not saying that violence is not a thing of life. It's all about relativity. It's all about the situation. If someone on the street walks up to me with a knife and threatens my life, I must defend myself. If someone says something nasty that hurts my feelings, I don't have to attack them. Do you know what I mean? If I'm walking through the forest and a bear comes to attack me, I must defend myself. Do you sort of get it? If, you know what I mean? But I should not go out there seeking to attack. It should only ever be a last resort, because the more I seek violence and aggression in my life, the more violence and aggression will become a part of my life. The more I seek peace and serenity in my life, the more peace and serenity will become a part of my life. And this is a very important aspect of understanding spirituality and God, is that no one is determining your actions for you. You determine your own actions. You determine what is right and wrong for you. There are no 10 commandments. There are no, this, that, and the other. Like, the people that say that God said you have to live this way, they're full of fucking shit, and they're telling you lies so that they can control and manipulate you. Anyone who tells you how it has to be is lying. Because while it may be that way for them, it does not have to be that way for you. Do you sort of understand? So in society, when people just say, this is just society, we have to go along to get along, that's a lie. We don't have to. We don't have to be a part of society in that aspect, to where we give society the power over us, in terms of we allow society to dictate who we are, how we behave. Do you sort of get it? Like, many people in life will say, you know, you just have to work a job. A funny thing for me is that God stops that for me. And that's one of the beautiful things. And that's one of the things when you become quiet within yourself and you stop trying to force everything in your life to be how you want it to be, and you sort of just accept, you know, the wins and the losses as they are without needing to try and control them, you will see the path that God has laid out for you. For me, working with other people, it doesn't work, because every time I try and move that way, I am pushed back outside. Like, do you sort of get it? And then I realize the true path that I'm meant for. And it's a funny thing like that. Whereas if I was always saying that, you know, this is, I bit my tongue. This is the path for me. This is the path I'm walking. I'm doing this. If I always act like that, what will happen is I will try and force paths. And the downside to that is when I try and force paths, well, my ego might say I want this or I want that. It doesn't guarantee that that is the truth. Do you sort of understand? Like, our truths are only found in the understanding of yin and yang, of flow, of push and pull, of action and inaction. Do you sort of get it? Of moving and standing, of taking actions and analysing the results. And that's very important, because for a lot of my life, I was the opposite way, where my ego would say, I want this. For example, I convinced myself that I enjoyed business, that business was my passion, that I was passionate about sales. And the downside was, every time I took actions within sales, I felt empty. It was all just hollow bullshit words. Like, for example, in my life, I have always succeeded but never succeeded. I have always succeeded within myself in everything that I want, and I have never gotten external validation for it. Like, do you sort of understand? This is the test of life, is to be able to see that I don't need validation externally. Do you sort of understand? Like, I don't need to get the external validation for my actions for me to know they were the right actions for me. And that's a funny thing, because in everything I've ever done in life, it's always been 85%. We've 85% succeeded, and then the last 15%, who knows? It just never comes. So for me, it's always been that I've succeeded. Let's go through sales. When I worked in property, I generated over $300,000 in sales per week, but the problem was they never closed. Do you know what I mean? Because of external factors. So I can generate, but receiving, it wasn't meant to be. And it's a funny thing, because for a lot of my life that really affected me. That feeling of sort of, you know, building ourselves up but never having what was meant to be. And what I realized was that the reason that, like, I only ever got 85% was because I wasn't chasing money. I didn't care about money. It didn't bother me. It doesn't concern me. So the thing is what I always seeked in business and in life and in My career was understanding, was knowledge, was experience, was, competency. And I always achieved that. Even if the external results didn't come, even if the money didn't come. Do you sort of get it? That's the test of life, is that God gives us everything. But if we're saying that we want something that isn't what we truly want, it will always be out of reach. And that's a funny thing. For a lot of my life, within myself, I seek knowledge and understanding. Externally, my ego seeked money and success and validation and recognition. And the funny thing is that if someone recognizes me, if someone validates me, if someone gives me money, does it really change anything? Not really. Within myself, if I gain knowledge and wisdom, does it change me? Yes. It changes every decision. It changes every action within my life. So to understand this is just to understand that, you don't have to sell yourself for external validation. You don't have to sell yourself to get ahead. That is the illusion of life. That is the illusion of society. Many people in business say they're in business to help people. And the funny truth is, if you do not pay them, they will not help you. Do you sort of get it? How can you say you like to help people? Oh, but there's a caveat. You have to pay me or validate me through external factors is the only reason I'm ever going to help you if you do that. Do you sort of understand? That's the illusion of society. The illusion of society is I will love you if you love me. Do you sort of get it? If you love me, I'll love you. And that's a funny thing, because within ourselves, we don't need love to be reciprocated to love. Do you sort of get it? For me to love God, I don't need God to sit there and tell me how much he loves me. Do you know what I mean? I know it within myself. I feel it. So that's an important thing about spirituality, is it's not external to you. It's internal. Only you will ever know what it feels like to you. Only you will ever know what it means to you. Do you sort of understand? It's not about anything external in terms of, it's not about I am spiritual only if things go my way. Do you sort of understand? I am spiritual only if this, only if that. I am a good person only if people are good to me. And that's a hard thing. And that's the test of life, is to really understand that being a good person is a decision and a choice within myself. And there will never be any validation external to that. And to seek that validation is simply an illusion, chasing the dragon, so to speak, always looking for that next hit to push me on. So think about it like this. If I want kindness in my life, I should go out there and be kind to people without expectation. Because the more kind to people I am, the more kindness I put into my external environment, the more kindness that will be around me, even if no one else reciprocates it. I will flood my external environment with kindness. Do you sort of get it? It's important to understand this, because this is the way in which we create our environment. If I want kindness in my external environment, but I'm only ever going to be kind if people are kind first to me, then what? I'm going to be a cunt to them? So I'm just going to put out all this energy of being a cunt and just wonder, why are people not kind to me? Do you sort of get it? So it's like if I'm making a coffee. If I just pour water into the cup and I say, this is a coffee. Do you know what I mean? So like, we have to put the things that we want in life into our external environment. If I want a coffee, I must put coffee in the drink. I can put water in it all I want, but if I do not put coffee in it, nothing happens. It is just a cup of water. Do you understand? And that's an important thing. So if I want love